Hey everybody, and welcome to the Nightly Grind. Tonight is June 30th, 2017. We are getting into the heat of summer. Uh, so we
It was actually pretty comfortable here today.
It's pretty nice here. It's going to be hot this weekend here. Getting pretty humid these days. We got a couple pieces of news. We're still post E3, so it's slowing down. But the big news is the official announcement of the Super Nintendo Entertainment System Classic Edition, which is going to be launching on 9/29, and they will be releasing 10 of them.
I'm excited for the people that'll actually get one.
I did see that EB Games is going to have a limit of one per customer, so you won't have that guy going there and buying.
Did you see
30.
they're already selling them for over 300 bucks on
ridiculous.
eBay?
It's freaking ridiculous.
Don't worry, that's what the majority of them are going to end up. So
Probably. It pissed me off so much with the last one. Anyways, the really cool part of it, 21 games, all the classics, Kirby, all the ones you expect to be in there, Mario and all those. But they're including Star Fox 2, which is a previously unreleased game. It was like 98% complete, and they never ended up releasing it. So that's kind of cool, I thought. Here we go.
If Pilot Wings isn't in there, I don't want it.
Pilot Wings? Is that on?
yeah, definitely.
Let me run through the list.
Go ahead. If Pilot Wings ain't on there, it's trash.
What did I do with
That
that?
is very, very good.
That's what I say.
Yeah.
If Pilot Wings isn't there, it's trash. I don't want it.
Contra 3, Donkey Kong Country, a classic. Earthbound, Final Fantasy 3, F-Zero, Kirby Superstar, Kirby's Dream Course, Legend of Zelda, Link to the Past, of course, Mega Man X, Secret of Mana, Star Fox 2, Street Fighter 2 Turbo, Hyper Fighting, Castlevania 4, Super Ghouls and Ghosts, Super Mario Kart, Super Mario RPG, Super Mario World, Super Metroid, Super Punch-Out, and Yoshi's Island.
So no Pilot Wings, fuck it.
No Pilot Wings. Sorry. No.
Well, look. I'll
maybe
be honest.
maybe if
I'll
they-
be honest. With just the Super Mario World, the Mario Kart, the Donkey Kong Country, the Super Metroid, and what was the other one?
Just think of any classic NES title and put Super in front of it, and you
And
probably
Zelda, just Zelda right there, and Super Punch Out. Just those right there. That's a pretty big slam right there. That's a good
Yeah,
amount.
Castlevania was on there too, wasn't
That's
it?
a lot of fun. Yeah, Castlevania. That's a lot of
for
good
the
games right
10
there.
units that will be made.
Super Castlevania.
That's true. Ooh, it's even
They'll come
superior
out
than the
after
rare.
the show or movie or whatever it was.
Super Castlevania, even superior than the last one.
And maybe they'll do Pilot Wings when they do the N64 Classic. And they can have Pilot Wings 64 in there.
Nobody wanted to play Pilot Wings 60.
The original Pilot
They
Wings
might
was
now.
the best
Yeah, you
game.
never know.
Like Star Fox and Pilot Wings, they were the go-to game. Donkey Kong Country was pretty. It really was really a
Yeah,
lot
Donkey
of
Kong
fun.
Country's a classic.
But
There's some
Pilot
really good
Wings
games
was
on
the first. It was the first one that I really put a lot of time into beating. It was a lot of fun because you could do the diving,
The
the
parachuting,
skydiving.
biplane flying, jetpack
There was
flying.
the jetpack, the helicopter.
Mhm.
I don't remember any.
Was
of
the
this.
bonus mission was the helicopter?
Yeah, Pilot Wings was awesome.
It was
I
an
didn't play a
excellent,
heck of a
excellent
lot
game.
of Super Nintendo. Was it-
Pilot Wings also was a lot of fun because you could just kill yourself in very ingenious ways. So,
Yeah, I love when you'd skydive and it always go. Hoof.
yeah, just
It wasn't really.
It's
a game that I
as
played a lot
epic
of.
as Hia. Trust me, okay.
Oh my gosh. So I don't think anybody's gonna look to buy this.
Yeah.
I don't think at this point. I'm so turned off by the original.
I am not gonna get this
I would
because I
have
have a
bought-
Raspberry Pi.
I would have bought both the NES Classic and the Super Nintendo Classic and put them next to one another. I think they're cool little display things. But they fucked up the NES one so badly with releasing so few that I just did a Raspberry Pi and said, screw you guys. So now they've lost my sale at least. Not that I would have been able to find one probably because... they're
No, probably
doing
for
that again.
$300.
Yeah, exactly. Who wants to pay that? So they lost my sale. I did read that they're going to be extending the controller's cable by like 2 feet But it's
Oh
still,
wow! So
Right.
that'll be a
still-
total of 3 feet.
It's a total of 5 feet. It's still an incredibly short
You can
cable.
almost reach the couch.
Yeah, but that way they can party up with
Now you
third-party
can sit on the
extenders.
floor in front of your couch and play it.
People that come up with the extenders.
Yeah,
They'll
well,
get a little
that's
cut of
what
that.
people were doing there. Yeah, the NES Classic, it was just the Wii U extender. It was the same thing. I don't know what this one is. I haven't really looked into it, but I imagine it's probably the same.
There is
But
a
maybe.
cluster of really, really good games in this, and if you're nostalgic, I can see you getting it. I really can. I don't know if you'll be able to get one, but definitely, if you heard your parents talk about Super Nintendo and about how that's where they got their start gaming and everything came from that, and which
Yeah.
is not true, but
It's a good little. I mean, the original was a great little system.
yeah, I mean, I don't understand why it has to be about the graphics. I mean, can it be about just good, fun play? Does it have to always be about graphics?
And
That's the biggest
Super
complaint you
Mario
hear.
World
I
is
don't
an
want to play that
excellent
because the
graphic
graphics
video.
are all shit.
The graphics on Super Mario World I thought were awesome. At the time.
Donkey Kong Country looked like awesome.
Yeah. Some
There's a
the
lot of games that have nostalgia effect where
Yeah.
if you go back, they're nowhere
They
near
look
as
like
good as
garbage,
you
yeah.
think they are. Like if you tried to play Pilowings right now, you'd probably have motion sickness so bad.
Yeah,
you
but
would never
except
even
for
be able to do
GoldenEye,
it.
I didn't play the Nintendo 64 for anything. I didn't play anything else but GoldenEye.
Well, most people didn't play the N64 for anything but GoldenEye and like Mario.
I'm just saying, Super Nintendo, man. I
and
got
Mario Kart.
Atari. I must have spent 8,000 hours playing that.
And the
thing, I
baseball
swear to
games
God.
are good on that too.
Super Nintendo came out, it was a whole step up. You had to share with friends because they actually wanted to play with you.
I
Yeah.
had a,
Atari, you just play by yourself. No one will.
when
Well, the six-
I had a PlayStation.
Atari,
and
you'd be
64
holding
was
two
out.
deals at the same time playing with yourself.
Well, the 64 had the big thing was the 4-player co-op on it, where it actually was the first system that really had it built in.
Yeah, but the
Or-
biggest TV I was out was like a 21 inch. You couldn't see shit.
You
Yeah,
still
anything
fucking
bigger
had
was
everybody
like-
That's why you
crammed
fucking-
in,
Anything was like
and then you had-
250 pounds if you had anything bigger than that.
and then you had the old school screaming and bitching and moaning that you were staring at their part of the screen and cheating. That's why you
half
were
the game.
killing them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then people started buying the big, remember when big widescreen, not widescreen, but what are they, plasma TVs?
The
No, not plasma.
the
No, it was before that.
projection.
Had the big projections in the back. Yeah, the
Projection.
red, green, blue.
DLP TVs and those.
Yeah.
ones.
Then you get like kids standing in front of that having seizures and shit because it's so big and they can't keep up with all the jittery stuff.
It was still like 150 pounds of TV.
They
Yeah,
were
it was
actually
massive.
really light. The projection TVs were light. They were massive and they were like
I
fucking
can't believe how big they
2,
got. I
3,
mean, like,
4 deep, but they were light.
I got one. How big is it? It's as big as my wall. He wasn't kidding. That
Yeah,
fucker
those
was
were
as
for
big
home-
as
those
his
were-
wall.
those
It
were
was
for
like
home
12
theaters.
feet.
Yeah, those were for home theaters.
Yeah, you couldn't stand more than 19 degrees
They had a
to one side. You
plastic
couldn't see
screen.
shit,
no,
but
the
you had
viewing
everybody had
angles
to be right in front of it.
were- the viewing angles were garbage.
It's as big as a wall, and everybody's packed into an area this big to watch.
You have to sit in the middle of the couch. Or you're screwed. The colors are all.
The screen was so big, like if you went up and touched the screen, it had all these little ridges and shit in,
What
these
does this
little
have to
bumps
do
and
with
ridges. In.
SNES?
I don't know. I'm tired.
All
I'm
right.
rambling.
Let's move on to the next thing. The fan-made Halo game called Installation. Is it Installation 01 or just Installation 1?
0-1.
I would imagine it's 01 since they actually spell it out that way. We'll call it Installation 01. Has gotten the blessing of sorts from 343 Industries and Microsoft by extension to continue working on their game. There were some questions that came up, obviously, with somebody working on somebody else's IP. Whether they
It's a
would-
Halo game, is what he's trying to say.
Yeah, it's a Halo game. Whether or not they would let them continue to make the game or to release it. They released a statement. It said, quote, Installation 01 is not under imminent illegal threat, provided we remain non-commercial in nature and scope and continue to follow Microsoft's game content usage rules to the letter. We are now able to say with certainty that Installation 01 will never be accepting donations. We also will not be selling IO1 or Halo related merchandise. So they're not making
They
money.
even went as far as to give them their entire release schedule. Like, they're like for the next, I don't know how many years, but they literally gave them an itinerary of everything they were going to do with this game. I think they just tried to hit every corner that they could think of,
To not
cover
get
every
screwed.
base. Yeah,
Yeah.
they want to do this bad. They put a lot of time and effort into it.
Yeah,
What
I mean,
is it other than just a Halo?
It's a Halo. It's a
it's
Halo.
a
Yeah.
fan-made Halo game. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
So like Halo with new maps, or
Well,
I mean,
PC.
it's
PC game.
on PC,
okay.
and it's
64 player, I think.
It's a little different from obviously from the original. So
64 player Halo, huh?
I think
the
it's 64.
The original PC release when they did Halo Combat Evolved, I forget what the maximum number of players was. But it was different than the regular Halo, obviously, because of the number of players. It might have been 64 or 32. I don't remember off the top of my head. It was such a long time ago that I played that game. But it wasn't anything like the regular Halo game on Xbox. So it was kind of a disappointment. But maybe they can do a good job. We'll see. And now they have sort of a blessing to go ahead and make a game.
They sold their soul to Microsoft.
yeah. So we talked about last week.
Well, the thing, big difference between Nintendo and Microsoft. Nintendo basically would sue them and tell them to stop. Microsoft said, as long as we get all the profit.
Yeah.
So,
or if you don't make many money off of it.
Yeah, Nintendo would cease and desist.
No. Microsoft basically said any money that gets made is going right into Microsoft's pocket. That's what Microsoft said.
Well, Microsoft wouldn't even let them do it if they were getting money for it.
Yeah, if they were making money, they said no dice.
Yeah, but Nintendo would have just hit them with a freaking, cease and desist, and that would have been the end of it. So, and Nintendo would have probably been assholes about it and let them actually make it first. And when they released it, then
they want to see how this thing's going to turn out, like everybody else.
It's like, wow, that's amazing, and it's never going to be played if you release it.
Wow, that would have been excellent.
What were the ones?
That'd have been amazing.
Yeah, there's been a few recently that Nintendo has shut down. There was a Contra one, right?
Yeah, but I mean, by the time those developers got cease and desist, it had already been distributed, redistributed, re-put up on other sites.
Right.
It's hard to stop.
It's out there.
It's out there in the world. Yeah.
So listeners, boys and girls, do not mod or try to create anything that has a Nintendo IP logo anywhere in it.
Yeah.
Look, we just suggest you don't say Nintendo at all. Don't think about them, talk about them, say the word, treat it like Voldemort.
They're harsh on people with like watching
the
trailers
console that
and
shall
stuff,
not
too.
be named. Yeah.
They're pretty harsh on YouTubers for like even watching trailers and stuff. And
yeah, they are.
Any footage at all, it's ridiculous. They're pretty hardcore.
You must kiss.
Don't people get around that by playing their footage backwards?
They've tried, but even
don't go back and watch our past videos about the Wii U or.
Yeah, right.
Or when the NES was discontinued
or
and we made our own.
Any of the Mario stuff.
Or what we started the video out with today, talking about the Super NES console. I mean, just
we didn't show any.
Is
clips,
that what we were talking about?
We didn't show
I
any
thought we were
clips
still
of
talking
it.
about that.
There's not a single SNES picture that we've shown.
Yep.
So last week, I think it was last week, we talked about Take-Two and Rockstar Games. Maybe it was 2 weeks ago, and they took down the Open4 modding application or program, which is a huge program used for modding the single-player version of Grand Theft Auto 5. People exploded. The internet exploded. If you go on Steam reviews and look at Grand Theft Auto 5, they had an absolutely shitty rating because people were freaking out about this.
Mm-hmm.
It appears that Take-Two and Rockstar Games have backed down on the Open4 modding tool after the internet backlash to them shutting it down a short while ago.
Didn't they go Rockstar talk to Take-Two and tell them, look,
I think Take-Two is the ones that were upset. By the way things look, it was Take-Two that had a problem with it, and Rockstar didn't really have an issue.
Rockstar, yeah, they like the mods.
Yeah, I can't imagine they would care too much about single-player mods. In the release, they stated, quote,
Wasn't Take-Two's point, though, that you could use it to fuck around with the online part?
That's what they were saying, but that was sort of bullshit.
I never saw any.
No,
Yeah,
it wasn't
I
possible.
don't think it's BS.
It was pretty much possible. And really, it comes down to Rockstar being really shitty at dealing with the hackers on their game, which is out of control for anybody who plays that game.
It's horrible. We talked about this before, but it's primarily was just used for single player modding. Most of the time, I think you consider it even a trainer. They mod single player files. It doesn't necessarily work online. But like we discussed back at that time, there's a lot of times where the actual development team doesn't really care about the modding community, but the actual publishing company, which is what Take-Two pretty much is.
Mm-hmm.
They're the ones that have a lot of issue with any type of aftermarket modding or any type of actual changes to the game.
Yeah.
Sometimes they push a lot of shit on it too because they want to keep getting their money back. So it's sometimes not really a smart idea to blame the actual dev company for some of the shady practices that surround the game. It's not all the time, but in some cases, it's not always their fault.
Yeah, absolutely.
So in this case, Rockstar may not have wanted to do that. They simply got told it has to be done, and then they kind of follow through.
Yeah.
So
Remember when we were younger and instead of hacker come in, everybody call him a douche and then just leave the server until and then
Or
come
if
back
it was
after
your
the
then-
server, you could
then-
and it was good.
then ban them, GeoID them, and send them into
Yeah.
fucking
People
what
fucking
was
do
it, Punk Busters, so they could get GeoID banned. Yeah.
But that is a huge community. GTA 5 is still huge. It's
Yeah.
still massive. They're still selling.
still
left
making
to
a
right.
lot of money too.
Yeah, they are. It's a huge community still, so it's not surprising there's cheaters. You
Well,
gotta
that's
have
the
a-
whole. Well, that's the whole thing too. Is that if you're a game developer, I don't understand why you'd want modding is going to get people to buy the game faster than DLC, in my opinion.
Or for a longer
You
period of
know,
time.
Yeah,
Especially
exactly.
multiplayer
It
mods.
stretches
It
the life
extends
of the game.
Yeah. Big time.
Yeah, so it's like, I mean, shit, people are still buying Arma 3, and that's been out for what, 3 years now almost, and it's, they've even released more stuff. I mean, modding makes the game last a lot longer. DLC won't. DLC might breathe some life back into it, but as we talked before, it kind of segments your community as well. The modding doesn't. The modding, just as long as, especially with like services like Steam really simplifying it with like through their Games Workshop, it's way different than we used to do back in the day when you were modding stuff, where you actually have to go into your actual files and edit freaking registries and stuff like that to get the shit to work. It's very simple today with a lot of the game services. So I don't understand why game companies aren't really pushing that, because if you got a loyal fan base, they're going to make that.
Well,
game
here's
10
an
times more
idea.
playable.
Here's an idea. They have this internet thing where people go to get hacks and cheats, and you can find them by just going to this thing called Google and putting like hacks and cheats, and then your game here,
And then you can also find a lot of
and you can
viruses.
sue these people. You just fucking shut them down. I don't understand why they're whining at the community. It's almost like they're punishing the community for something they're not doing. Go get your fucking lawyer to get a cease and desist order and shut down that site. It's illegal. It's against the law. Why are you fucking bugging your community who's
think
not doing anything wrong?
Because it's easier.
Yeah,
Well,
and
fuck
that's
that.
I mean,
well, not
really.
just
Fuck
that,
that.
it doesn't cost
Cheaper?
you much.
Yeah.
It doesn't cost
Fuck.
as much as anything. In order to actually go out there and get a cease and desist and actually try to sue people, that costs a lot of money up front.
That's a $69 game. Suck my dick.
Well,
Get
it's
your
not- it's-
fucking lawyer to do it.
Yeah, but see, you have to pay the lawyer to do it. That's not cheap. And then it's the aspect of is that it could be Pyrrhic and you're not going to get any money from the company that's
So
doing
if
it.
I took their
The-
game, stripped out some stuff, and made my own game and called it not so Grand Theft Auto, they wouldn't sue my fucking ass off.
They would sue you under
Yeah, exactly.
Well, hold
So
on,
they
hold
have
on.
lawyers.
Sounds
They
like
can
the
use
name-
lawyers. We've
It's-
established they can use
there's a
lawyers.
Sounds like the
difference.
name
Thank
of
you.
a porn.
There's a difference. There's a difference in that, okay?
But you know what I'm saying?
One is easily done by going to court and protecting intellectual property, and they're going to put a cease and desist, and basically you're not going to be able to make the game or make any profit. And any profit you've made, more than
Just
likely.
smash your screenshot key. Look, they're
Yeah.
selling them right
But the
there
thing is-
online.
But the thing is
Proof.
but it's not even its aspect. Is that there's very little to gain from it. They're not going to be able. They can sue the people like Blizzard. When Blizzard goes after like the hacking things like that, they try to bury them. But Blizzard also has deep pockets and has.
I don't
Activision
believe
in
for
the
a
back
second
corner,
that
too.
someone's not going to go after a company that's
But-
selling hacks for their game and not say every one of those fucking hacks that were sold is cost that the people that spent money on the game and they're playing it the right way. It's costing them money. It's costing them fucking time. It's
But
costing
Blizzard going after all of these people, I mean, they go after people so often. You know they're going to do it. So most of the time people say, don't touch Blizzard. You know,
It's exactly.
this is
exactly.
going to be the opposite thing if you don't crack down
But
on
see,
them. They're
that's
just
the
going to be
exactly.
not so Grand
Free
Theft Auto,
reign, yeah.
not quite so Grand
Well, it's-
Theft Auto.
Well, they're not going to go.
Almost Grand Theft
I don't. There's
not
people-
nearly Grand Theft Auto.
I mean, there's
Minor Theft Auto.
the thing is that when it comes to actually hacking, yeah, but when it comes to the hacking aspect, you're going against something else. You're talking more copyright infringement on the title.
Yep.
You know, when it's coming to hacking, that's just some
Petty
guy who could
larceny
be.
too.
There's It's the difference is that one's a copyright issue, the other one is actually a coding issue.
Yeah.
Anybody can sit in their house and fuck with coding and write a fucking a trainer program and do that shit and then release it. There's nothing to be gained.
I know,
chasing
but
that person.
but these people are making money from the game. It's not like these people
They're
are just
selling
giving
that.
the hack
They're
out.
selling them,
They
yeah.
are
They're
selling
selling
it for
the
a
hack.
profit. So there
But
is
see-
something to be gotten from these.
But it goes back to what Saul said. Certain game companies protect and try to cherish their IP. They go after people because they want to protect their intellectual property.
See, well, here's what I think. I think
don't
it's
think
they
they-
put no effort into protecting their shit until they can prove someone is fucking stealing it. They don't make any effort to protect their stuff other than trademarked, and they don't actually they don't develop anti-cheat software. They just do what they have.
Well, Tord, you've been gaming as long as I have, if not longer.
Longer.
There's no such thing as a perfect anti-cheat. There's people out there that are going to write code just to break an anti-cheat engine to show
of
that it
course.
can be done.
Yeah.
I know, but this is
mean-
not some guy sitting in his bed. I mean, these people are.
No, it
making
is some
buck.
guys. It
They're
is.
making buck.
There's people that are out there that are making money off of it. There's also people out there that are doing it just to do it because they show it can be done.
I think a lot of it's because it's Bitcoin and stuff now, so it's hard.
There's no way to trace
It's
it.
hard
Exactly.
to get that money. You gotta get that money.
Well, it's not even how to get the money. There's no way to really effectively trace it, and there's so many ways to hide your tracks. The people that are selling it are not just basically going, "Hey, mail it to my house address."
Mhm.
You know what I mean? They're basically going through proxies, using bitcoins and other aspects that are not traceable, so you can't really find them and track them down easily.
I understand.
So the question is,
point.
how
I
much?
just feel like they're punishing the community. That is adding longevity to their game instead
They're
of going
going
after the right
wrong
people. Yeah,
But
they're
I
just
think
not
we're-
going after the right people.
Yeah, but I think we're talking about two totally different things. Like I said, I think that maybe the aspect of them going after the people and trying to take down the mod that was a single player mod was misplaced hatred towards the wrong style of the community. Which to me that sounds like the perfect aspect of a company that has no concept of what they're actually selling, which usually fits the key on most of these game companies and release companies. They're backing and they're basically publishing,
Okay,
but they really don't
but
follow the fucking.
you
aspect
have
of what
proof
they're doing.
Take-Two feels that way, or
I'm just speculating like you're speculating. You're speculating along the ideas of why they did this, and I'm saying maybe they did it because they were trying to protect their IP, but they're not going after the right people. They're just going after the ones that they can easily track down.
That are
and
easy
deal
to
with.
do, yeah. That are
You
public
know?
about it.
Yeah, so I mean, if there's completely different spectrums on that. Like I said,
okay.
there's
So
always
let me
going to.
speculate. So let me speculate a little further. Is the problem they don't want to solve this problem,
I don't
they
think-
wanna
and they
solve it.
really don't want to?
I think
think-
they definitely do because they're selling these stupid shark cards for so much money, and the hackers are just going in there and making them worthless because they just give away money for free.
Well, it definitely breaks. See, now we're going into that aspect of should that be existing in the first place, and are the hackers actually
Yeah, I
being
think it's
bad?
a bullshit system.
In that aspect, you can almost morally justify the hackers are acting like Robin Hood and giving away shit for free that shouldn't necessarily be being charged real
Yeah.
game money for.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I had a hell of a lot more fun playing that game when I had a shit ton of money given to me by a hacker than I did trying to get money in the fucking game in the first place.
Yeah.
So it's like I said, it's counterintuitive in that point.
It's
but-
hard to feel bad about it, huh? Because of
It-
how
it-
hard you have to grind. You can't.
It
Yeah,
is.
the grind on that game's absurd.
It's like I said, if they did more, had more game content that allowed you to earn money easier than basically making it to the point where it's like, trying to do the missions, 3 people are going to get paid, and the person who hosted, who has to put up a shit ton of money to begin with to actually even do the mission, ends up basically breaking even in the long run. It's one of those things where it's not really fun to do. And the only way to really make it more interesting is to jack up. I think you had to.
It
jack
always
up the
seems like the
difficulty, but-
hackers are the only people getting the most out of the game.
Yeah, they're the ones having more fun because it's basically the crazy Grand Theft Auto everybody knows when they played single player, where you can do
Yeah.
whatever the fuck you want and have a great time at it. Shit, some of the best nights we had on that game was when we were fucking with hackers and they were fucking back with us. And it's like I said, I had that one night. I think it was me and Haste or me and Ashgan, when we stole the helicopter from the hacker and we were flying around in an invulnerable helicopter hunting you guys.
That's
And you guys kept trying to shoot us out of the air with the SAMs and couldn't do it. That was hysterical. That was unbelievably fun.
I think when I
So
had
I don't know
enough,
about you guys.
kind
I
of
think when I had
depends,
enough.
though. It depends on the hacker. Like
Yeah,
if you get
absolutely.
some that you can actually mess with, like you're good enough to mess with, that's one thing. But if you get one that's just
It blows
invulnerable
everybody
and
up.
gunning
Yeah.
you down constantly, it's not any fun.
I mean,
Well, like I said,
we've had ones
that's
log in and they just kill everybody in the map instantly.
yeah,
And
and then
that's not any fun.
What's the point?
and yeah, and then, like I said, but that's that yet again. That's more. I don't. That's more the gamer, the person being doing. Some people they're doing that hack or doing
Right,
it just
but
to get
you
off
can't
on
You know
it.
what I
sit there
started?
and say I'm having more fun with hackers than I am with the
I
normal
started telling them, I don't care if
playing
you
the game
grief me.
normally.
I started telling hackers in there, I don't care if you grief me, but make it worth my fucking time at the end.
Give me
Yeah.
some,
Seriously,
give me some money.
Like I
So-
don't mind
so-
being the bitch that you
Towards-
fucking get
towards
your
the-
fucking off on doing this too.
Towards
But
that
in the
pro-
end, give me some fucking money for my
Tord,
time.
Tord basically is saying, I'm a whore. As long as I'm getting paid in the end, I don't really give a shit what you do to me.
Hey, if I'm gonna
It's
look the
like-
part,
No, but I mean, it's like we've when we played it, we had hackers who basically ran around invincible and did just were dicks. We had hackers who went around and had everything unlocked and could do anything they wanted to, but still could be killed. And that was where it was fun because as soon as you knew that he could be killed, everybody in the server started chasing after him because he was fucking with the flow. And then you could still kill him. And then usually those were the guys that after you fuck it, they'd sit there and fuck with you for 45 minutes. And it'd be a massive war where everybody's trying to kill the hacker. And in the middle of that, killing each other as well because, well, there's guys over there, let's kill them.
Yeah.
You know, that they you usually run around and throw money everywhere just because it would, you know, that it was good time.
it depends on the game though. If it's a multiplayer game, you can just hop out of the server. You don't lose much by leaving the server
You
for
don't
a few
lose
minutes.
nothing for losing the server.
Okay, but if you're in the middle of one of these long grinds in GTA, you can't just hop out because you have to do it all over again.
But see, therein lies the other aspect. Of
That's
GTA.
why.
Well, see, there lies the other aspect of GTA. Most of the content had to be done. Most of the original content with the bank robberies and Anti's character Lester, you know, and all that stuff. They were all done in a private server because I guess they had enough common sense to realize that if you even try to do any of that shit in an open server,
yeah,
it
you're
would
never
never
gonna
get
do
done.
it. Yeah, you're never gonna.
But almost everything they released afterwards, all of the corporations, the biker gangs and shit, was all open
world.
server,
Yeah.
which meant it was impossible to do because one, you either had other people that were just there solely to grief, or the hacker that would have completely wrecked your day because you couldn't complete anything.
Yeah.
So
To be honest, I had enough when they introduced the when we started getting the high-rise buildings, the spendy high-rise, and they started doing the houses up on the hill, and then they came out with that yacht that you could buy as a bit. You could turn it into your business or whatever, your kingpin. And how much was it?
It was basically more than you'd ever.
I
could
was
make
like,
in the
no,
game.
10
that's
million or
fucking
something?
it.
Yeah,
I'm
it
fucking
was-
done. Fuck
they
that.
had
There's
absurd
no way
numbers.
I'm gonna grind that
Well,
long
just
for
that was
that.
the thing that was the thing that got me though. There was still I'd still enjoy playing that game
Sure.
if you were not forced to do some of that shit on an open world server. Like I said, the corporations probably went a bit bad. Even the biker shit wouldn't have been that bad. But it was basically trying to force PvP in a game that you didn't need. You don't really need PvP in that game to have fun. You know what I mean? It would have been great just to have an
it's
open
fine
world
as co-op.
game. Yeah, it would have been great to have an open world game where it focused more on where you could just get in with your friends and basically be criminals, then get in with your friends and then have to force PvP with other people that wanted to do the same thing. It just didn't really mesh well.
Yeah.
You know
well,
what I
the
mean?
fact that you
And-
couldn't steal every vehicle and just have it, you have to grind for money, and then you can buy the vehicles that you really want. Like if they got rid of that whole shitty money system and just let you have vehicles, they could do so much more with the game
Why
because
would
It's
you
just
called
you
because
Grand
then you
Theft
would just-
Auto.
because then you would just
Grand
be
Theft Auto.
then you would
I
just
mean,
be playing to have fun
The
rather
game
than
is
playing
called
to make
Grand
money.
Theft Auto, but you wanted to earn those vehicles because you didn't get the good shit unless you didn't get to keep it.
Well,
Yeah.
the sad thing is that this all boils down to the fact that I think they lost their way. I think they had a really, really great idea, and somebody at some point in time really jumped in there and said, "Hey, we can monetize the fuck out of this."
Yeah.
And then at
absolutely.
that point, the game went away from where it should have been to something different. And it's like I said, I still have hope because of the Grand Theft Auto series and its biggest, nearest competitor, which would be Saints Row. I always think Saints Row was a hell of a lot better because Saints Row never took itself serious. And I think Grand Theft Auto tried to start taking itself way too serious.
Hmm.
And I think that happened right around like Grand Theft Auto 4 when they really, even you could say
well, they were
3
making
to
a
a
shit
point.
ton of money on it. I think that's part of the
Yeah. But I mean,
Man,
I would
just-
like to see them do a Saints Row like they did with Grand Theft Auto 5, where it would be a completely open world and like the Saints Row fucking universe, which is basically off the wall, crazy, just
Yeah.
psychotic shit. And I think they could do it and they could do it better. and it would be a very more interesting game. You know what I mean? I think everybody would like to play. I don't know about you guys.
I'm just kind of sick of the soak. It's like they just build games to figure out how to get soak money out of people.
Yeah. No.
Instead of just making a really good game, and if it makes it, guess what? You're probably going to get to make another one. If you don't, guess what? You probably fucking should be doing something else.
They're
Well, again,
expecting
we-
to be able to make a
Yeah.
GTA
Dude, I'm fucking
6.
sick of that shit.
But the thing is that we've talked about this before. They don't really 15, 20 years ago when you were making games, 15 years ago, really, early 2000s, they really were pushing for the most content they could cram into a disc to try to make you buy it.
But they're
And then
not
if-
paying for those discs and the plastic anymore. They don't have to store that shit anymore.
Let's not deviate from the aspect of it. I'm just saying that they were trying to make it worth your investment.
Mhm.
And if you were a PC gamer, they even made it more worth your investment because they basically would send source code out and allow the modders to do whatever the fuck they wanted. And that kind of created more and more and more to the actual game, and it added more and more length and longevity to the game. And it's like now they don't do that. Now they just basically release.
That's because people want more money.
Well, it's not even the aspect of more money. It's the aspect
It's exactly the aspect.
well, okay, it is the aspect of more money, but they release less and make you pay more down the line.
That's
for
what I'm
the
talking
same
about. They're
content.
just pumping it out so they can get more money, that they can soak money out later down
Yeah,
the road.
but see, they're counterintuitive because in the long run, what they're doing is releasing a game that's not finished or not 100% there.
Well, they're teaching people
releasing
just to play a
DLC.
game for a little bit and fucking
Yeah, and then 6 to
Jump
8 months
ship.
later, they release something brand new that's a basic recopy of what they released 6 months earlier. Grand Theft Auto hasn't done that yet, but I guarantee they got something in the works for the next thing. And maybe they don't. Maybe they're going to plan to DLC the fuck out of it and constantly release
Oh,
stuff,
no.
but I can't see that happening.
No.
No.
Yeah.
They've
I
given up on
guarantee they've been
single-player
working on it for a
DLC.
couple years already.
All right, let me read the statement they released, and then we can move on real quick. They said, quote, Take-Two has agreed that it generally will not take legal action against third-party projects involving Rockstar's PC games that are single-player, non-commercial, and respect the intellectual property rights of third parties. So that's what they said. It doesn't.
There it is.
And part of me wonders maybe they're not just doing this to sort of stem the tide of people being really pissed, and then later they'll just change it and go back to what they wanted originally or something.
That's what they'll do.
But we'll have to wait and see on that.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah.
I don't want it to happen. I
It's
really
probably
don't.
one of those things too. where they're-
I miss really good modding communities. I miss the communities themselves.
It doesn't give me hope for.
Remember when
Red
people
Dead
used
Redemption
forums
2.
because they
Well,
had to, because all the people in the communities?
we've
Remember that?
touched about this on different bases though too, and I'm going to go back to a different aspect where I think a lot of it has to do with you used to see really tight knit communities on PC games in particular, not necessarily on consoles. Consoles, you'd have like your runaround group that you'd meet people and basically form like little cliques,
Mhm.
but it was usually a small group of people, not really a large devoted group of people. PC kind of had like the different aspect of it where when you were playing PC games back in the early 2000s, the mid 2000s, you would have massive communities where you would know clans, you would see tags, you'd have familiar aspects, you'd have the people you like gaming with, the clans that you couldn't fucking stand, the clans that you liked going to the servers you avoided because you knew who ran them, and you generally had a good feeling for the community. And it's like I think that has been lost because there's no longer a need for that type of community. And I think a lot of it has to dictate too back with the aspect of hold your thing. I think it has a lot to do with the fact that we've gotten away from, or the PC community's gotten away from, one, hosting your own personal servers, and two,
Mhm.
with the auto joins.
Yeah.
It's,
I was gonna say, is it the matchmaking?
The server
Yeah, it's
browsers.
Consoles
it's the
brought matchmaking to the field, and then they started porting their games over to PC, and
And
they just matchmaking went
and
over
it's-
with it to the PC.
It's like I've been reading some stuff on Penny Arcade and some of their points on it, and they always made the aspect of it that was a PC trope. That was the thing PC always had like as a calling card for PC, and they're like, well, it's fine to let a game server somewhere dictate what's going to be your best PC connection, what's going to be your best ping and all that shit. But I think we lost a lot with that. I think that it really made the community take a step back because it kind of brought into the aspect where you didn't have to look for your own servers. You didn't have to find your own communities. You didn't really have that kind of thing. It was just push a button, join the match. You didn't care who you were playing with. It turned everything into like a single player game with multiplayer aspects. You might work with like 3 or 4 people for a few hours, but then you never see them again because, even if you friend up, it's something that you just, even a Battlefield, it's like I've met people and played with Battlefield like one night and we friended up and then I've never played with them again because
I
They're
get
still
it.
on your
It's
friends
just-
list.
Yeah, and they're still on the friends
EA
list.
tells you they're in there playing, but you don't know who the fuck
You know,
they
and
are.
it's like in comparison, it's like me, Torn and Bone here. We all met playing America's Army back in like 2001, 2002, and we basically that's how we played. We played every night on the same fucking server, and then became good friends because of that. And then everything we've done has basically been built around.
Well, we
from
met
that,
playing
you know?
the demo for Rainbow Six. Me, you,
Me?
and Math were
I
playing
don't
the
know. I
demo
don't
for
think
Rainbow
so.
Six.
No, man.
No,
Yeah.
no,
No way.
no,
Yeah.
it wasn't. I met
No,
you
yeah, no,
guys
it's
on
true.
America's Army.
No, it's true though.
Anyways, I think there's a few things that changed. One, the amount of people playing PC games has exploded. Games in general, and PC games has exploded. The dumbification of playing to get more people to play. So you have server instead of a server browser, you just have an auto join. And the number of games in general. People are jumping from game to game to game to game now because there are so many options.
The only reason I would argue with that, or at least the game to game to game aspect, I think it has less to do with the game to game to game and more to do with the quality of the game itself.
Could be.
Yeah, we have to play another
I
game.
mean, it's
just
not like
'cause
America's
we're waiting
Army
for an
was a
update.
high quality game, but we played the shit out of it.
A lot of times we'll play another game while we wait for an update
For 2
that we
weeks.
hope will fix a
For
game.
2 weeks.
Yeah, tell me how you guys don't jump from game to game to game.
We do. I'm
We
not
do-
saying
yeah,
we
no, absolutely,
don't.
yeah.
I'm not saying we don't.
No,
but
I'm
what
just
I'm saying
saying
And
is
there's
there,
a
that
there
it's,
are
reason
some
that it's that
communities
way.
out there still. You just have to find the right ones. Like League of Legends' Reddit community it's massive. It's huge though. So it's not like you would find a group of people that you play with, but there's sort of this community that shifts together to some degree. So there still are.
They
out
all
there.
hop on to
you just,
bitch.
you just have more or less, yeah.
There's a place to all come together and complain.
There's still some sort of a community for certain games, and they're games that last a lot longer.
well, it's like I said, but it's still one of those things where it's like there are communities out there, but it's just
It's not the same.
I don't
would
see the
agree with that.
camaraderie aspect of it. You know what I mean?
I don't either.
It's when you played, even with like some of the old Battlefield games, you knew clans. You saw clans that were renting and hosting their own servers. You could see the power of the clan by how many servers
You went and
they
played
had.
on a clan server. Even though it wasn't your server, you were fine going and just hanging out and playing with those guys.
Yeah, and it's like you became buddies with them. I can't even remember the name of the clan now, which is pretty sad. But it's like in Battlefield, I think it was in 4. I think it was 4. I lived on this one clan server for a long time until I got to a rank where I no longer could play on it because it was a quote unquote newbie server.
Yeah.
And they basically were using it just to bash the shit out of new players. But because they could be whatever rank they wanted to be and get on it. But
Sure.
it was a really good server and there was a really good community. And it was like, it sucked, man, because I knew everybody on that clan and that server, and I was on like a name-to-name basis on them, because I played on it for like
Do you think
2
some of
months.
that was because a lot of server owners on private servers had control of official servers and were able to mod them to some extent, and they just didn't.
Well,
like
yeah,
that,
we've all, like I said, maybe you could see the real big turn back with Call of Duty Black Ops 2 when they really, took away that thing from PC and kind of said, you guys don't need this anymore. And that was the whole boycott with Call of Duty that wasn't Call of Duty 2. It was just Call of Duty 2. And, the whole boycott and shit with that. And that was, I think, like a last stand for it. But at the end of the day, everybody ended up buying the fucking game anyway. And they kind of just went, we'll get rid of all the shit we used to and go with just because it's a great game and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah,
convenience.
it's like
You know.
how it's an inconvenience that we have to listen to this bitching for a couple of games, but eventually it'll just be the norm.
I think you guys are thinking about it the wrong way, though. I don't think that the clans and the guild aspects or whatever have gone away. They've just changed with voice chat. Instead of going
Yeah,
and
but how many clans can get together on a console?
instead of seeing who's on World of Warcraft or Arma or Guild Wars or whatever, you're going into the Discords, the vents, the stuff where these people are saying, "Are you guys playing right now? What are you guys playing? Okay, let's hop in and do something." It's changed.
Yeah, well,
Yeah, but you can't get
there.
5 people together and hop into matchmaking and expect all to get in the same match.
Yeah, and in most
can't do
cases,
that.
you can't get in 5 people together and
If-
find a server
If
that's
you're
going to be able
doing
to.
one that's strictly based on matchmaking
Depends
as
on the
opposed to
game,
ones
yeah.
where you can invite your friends.
It depends on
It-
the game.
But
All
see,
3 of your
it-
friends.
All 3 of your friends. But what I mean more along the lines of, and Saul, it's like this is like first person shooter, pretty much made based. If you want to talk about MMOs, I can tell you how basically Warcraft has killed guilds by basically making it you don't need a guild anymore.
Yeah, the dumbification of the game.
And I still think that's the main thing that's killed Warcraft. This is my honest opinion on Warcraft is that it's on a downhill slope, and it's on a downhill slope because they've turned it into. I know people want to say it's not hardcore and it's too easy and all that stuff, but they've turned it into a situation where there's no need for community anymore. And the thing is that that's what made Warcraft was the community in the game. The guild you were part of is what really brought.
Damn it, Leroy!
So you want a game where somebody who doesn't have 3 friends can't play it?
No, I want a game where wait.
That keep you from playing a game.
I can tell you right now that you know what? No, I don't like that whole even line of thought, and the reason I don't like that line of thought is because it's a fucking MMO.
That's fight words. Let's do this.
I mean, when did it become a situation where the nerdy or outcast individual somehow doesn't have it carries over into the actual?
When we started giving all them awards just for showing
more
up.
Like Ghost Recon. There's your first-person shooter. There's your matchmaking potential, but you can also invite your friends to it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, your
3 friends.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's what it is, though.
Well,
see, back when we were playing first-person shooters years ago, you could have 20 people hop in a server together. You know,
you'd find a server where it was.
You could have a 40-man server, and everybody in there's got your tag on.
That for certain games.
You can do it for certain games, but it's
what I'm saying is that Battlefield 1 the other day, and the clan came in and started trouncing us.
Rocked the fuck out of us because
how many people
exist?
Fantastic.
They're just rarer.
But see, this is the difference, though. You used to be able to look at servers and say, like DBD server, and you'd realize that if you jumped in that server and it was populated, at some point in time, DBD would be in that. We would be in that server, and a majority of us.
Usually, we'd always have somebody in that server adminning.
Yeah,
at least one person in there making sure people weren't cheating.
And you got.
But
the thing is, you had the element of you knew what you were getting into. That like for that Battlefield game where me and Bone were in there and we got rocked by the one clan.
Yeah.
That was just random chance.
Yeah.
We were just we were playing and they joined.
To be playing with them.
Yeah. And then we got our asses slaughtered. And then we had to go find another server because and we fought and it was I actually had a lot of fun in the earlier matches because it was a challenge.
Yeah, it was hard.
You know what I mean? But the thing is that you could easily see that you needed to have that same the same kind of teamwork on your side.
Yeah, you needed your clan in there to challenge them back.
And it's like that's part of the aspect where I think it's lost is that when you had a server browser, you could go in the server browser and see that.
Back when we were playing first-person shooter games, a clan would come to our forum and say, "Hey, we got a bunch of guys that are wanting to do challenges.
Scrim.
Would you want to do a scrim?" And we would set up a day and a time, and we would all work out our lives so we could all get together and do this scrim. It was much more community driven.
And then we'd also stalk the fuck out of them by finding out where their server
we go
and
we'd
take our fucking alt server there and fucking see how well they were. Who the people are to fucking worry about, who the ones that are just, cannon fodder and shit like that. And I'm not saying that doesn't exist.
We come up with fake accounts and go in and play against them so we know who we're playing against when we.
Like I said, I'm not saying that doesn't exist. I think it just takes away the to me, the quick join and the play aspect of that takes away community. You used to look around and find people you want to play with.
They want individual payments. They don't want groups.
It's a console idea brought over to PC to.
That's what. That's when it all started to go away.
The dumbification of the game to make it more noob friendly, essentially.
Yeah, and the thing is that I still think that like I said, I just disagree with it. I really do.
Yeah.
And I don't like it, and I think that's where you lost a lot of the community aspects of the thing.
I just have a different viewpoint. I mean, most of the communities that I've been part of, like you guys, for example, came from matchmaking.
Yeah.
Because I don't have a lot of gamer friends, so a lot of the communities that I've been joining have been because I've met people through matchmaking, have played with them a couple of games. They're like, "Hey, why don't you play another one with us?" Okay. And then from there, I actually joined into, which is where I'm saying the community has changed to the voice chat servers now. From there, I bounced from voice chat to voice chat to voice chat. And they're different communities, just seeing what they're doing, if they're doing something in a particular game or whatever. And they still do that where they organize things, organize events, saying, hey, we're all going to go out and do this on this day at this time. Okay. I think it's just changed. It may not be part of the games anymore, but that's because people have taken it into their own hands.
I just think Discord is the exception, not the rule anymore, though.
I bet Discord's made it more universal for anything. Like if you I know there's Discords for
you could have all your buddies get together and watch Bob Ross.
If you play a specific champion in League of Legends all the time, you can find a Discord of people talking about that champion. And you can probably jump in and play games with those people if you went in there. I've never been in one.
Damn,
but
Bob is painting it down tonight.
the Bob Ross.
We have a
Discord
Ross
channel.
clan. A Bob Ross clan.
All right, we can move on.
All right.
That was a hefty discussion about Take-Two.
Are we still talking about the Super Nintendo?
Don't say the name.
All right.
You're gonna get a
I'm sorry, the
sued,
console
man.
that must not be named.
The console that nobody will actually
So-
own because they only make 10 of them.
So I think a lot of us have pre-ordered Destiny 2.
Yeah.
And
No.
Well, a few of us have. Half of
Half
us.
of us.
Half. That's a lot.
The
Half is a
important
lot.
people.
Destiny 2.
I probably will end up getting
Destiny
it.
2 is going to be dropping the randomized perk system, or perks in quotes, perk system for loot in the game, which is in Destiny 1 right now. And instead, they're moving towards a handcrafted set weapons in Destiny 2. And essentially, that should give them, the balance team, a lot more leeway to make changes, since they don't have to account for variations in weapons. They can say, all right, this is our whatever gun,
It's
hand
set
cannon
step,
or whatever.
Yeah.
We think it's too powerful here. We can specifically tune that one thing. Excuse me, I have hiccups.
So they're really pushing PvP.
Maybe, but
Well,
I thought it
it's-
was and
sounds like
and less chance on your rolls for your weapons. You get a weapon, all right, I know what that is. It's really good.
That boils down straight to balancing for PvP. You don't need balancing against PvE.
Well, you always need a little bit. At least.
Not
Not
really.
as fine tuned.
Not really. You don't need balancing against PvE because PvE you can just adjust the bots and that'll completely adjust the game.
Well, if one
in a-
weapon's
in a-
doing way more damage than anything else is, all right,
Yeah,
we'll take
they
down
would-
the recoil or
yeah,
the
they'll just
ammo count or whatever. Yeah, the damage.
yeah. But it's again against bots. It's not a big deal. Look at Borderlands. I mean, Borderlands got some of the most craziest psychotic shit in the world. You never have to worry about it because it's against bots.
Mhm.
So it's
And they don't complain at all.
yeah.
Like the boss never said, "What,
Yeah,
dude?
it's
that
not like
was way OP."
yeah. It's
I didn't even
it doesn't.
realize.
Hackers.
It's irrelevant.
Right?
You have to worry about that in a PvP game
Oh,
because
sure.
it'll
Bohemian's
eventually,
getting a fucking call from me.
yeah, because eventually what'll happen is you'll have this community segment into like two distinct groups: the people that are going to use that weapon and abuse it, and the people that are going to sit there and bitch, moan, and cry about it.
And
So,
I
I
think part of it was
mean-
people were like, you'd have to continue to grind over and over and over again to get a good roll on a weapon that you wanted.
Yeah, but that's half the fun of a
weapon you
Diablo
want.
type game.
You could get a weapon you want, but then get a really shitty roll on the stats and be like, well, that's a fucking waste.
Yeah, but that's half the base of a Diablo based game.
Well, that's
It's
the
the grind
it's a random.
aspect. Yeah, the grind
You
aspect.
could or
is
Trying
what
to
you're
remove
doing.
a little bit of the randomness of it. I think the grind's.
It sounds like they're trying to get rid of the grind.
just some of the randomness. I
It
think.
depends on how they do it, but I'm just like that to me. That whenever you talk about balancing for
Yeah.
like that, to me that goes right into PvP.
Sure.
And Blizzard knows what they're doing and well, it's granted it's not being made by Blizzard, but it is Activision, so I guarantee they're leaning into that. And like I said, if you're dealing with PvP, it's got to be balanced
It could be.
because it's going to get
That's
used and
why.
abused, and there's going to be problems with it. So there's got to be a balance to it.
I drank a whole carafe of coffee. I'm just wired out.
Yeah, I can see you sitting there bouncing, man.
Well, this
That
is
means in like 2 hours, Tor's just going to fall over and
I'm gonna
fall
crash
asleep.
out.
Yeah,
This was a cool thing I saw. Or Torsel, you found this, right? John Romero, the Doom 2 thing? You found
Yes.
that, right? Okay. John
Yes.
Romero put his own personal copy of the original release of Doom 2
version 1.7.
on floppy disks, 5 of them. You could have bought it on a CD back then, but this was a floppy version. He put them on eBay, and the high bid, anybody want to take a guess who hasn't seen the news? Not you. $3,150. Somebody
That's
bought this
unsigned. That's
He
just a
said he will
diskette.
sign them. He said
Oh,
he would.
was he? Good.
He said he would
He
sign
should.
them if the person wanted to. He wasn't just going to sign them and ruin the, the
All I
value
can say about that
potentially,
is
I
the
guess.
people that are paying
How
for
can
that
that
money
ruin the value?
probably
I don't
don't even have a 5 or 3.5 inch floppy drive.
It's a 3.5.
It's a 3.5, so they probably don't even have a 3.5 floppy drive to use.
Yeah,
You
it's a
know,
nostalgia thing.
Here's a little. What at the time when there was the 5 1/4 and a 3.5, I called the 5 1/4s floppies, and we called the
Hard.
3.5s
discs.
hard discs.
Yeah.
And now they're
Yeah.
calling those floppy disks. It confused the shit out of me.
Or
for
for the
longest
really,
time.
really young people, somebody actually printed a 3D the safe button. whatever the one thing I saw that one time was.
Yeah.
What happened?
Somebody made the comment that they found some old 3.5 and it was like a fucking picture floating up on Facebook where it was like somebody's like, that's cool, somebody 3D printed a save icon.
Yeah. The same
They had
icon
no
as the
concept
drive.
it was an actual
floppy drive.
3.5 floppy disk.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just always thought it was funny that people were calling a floppy drive the whole time. But at that point
floppies
in time,
were these huge
floppies were the
diskettes,
huge
five,
ones.
Yeah, but
five
see,
and 3/4.
and they were
How many
actually
people even
floppy.
remember what a 5.5 inch floppy looks
I think it's
like?
5 and a
man?
quarter.
That was like
Slate-
15
slate-
kilobytes, man.
gray
I mean, it was
slate.
like
Yeah, I
They
wonder
were all
what the max
black or gray
capacity. Max
Yeah,
it was like
capacity
it was less than a meg, man. It was like 15 to 20 kilobytes. or
Your
something
computer made
stupid
these
like that.
strange noises like
Click, click, click.
insert disc 2. Then you take out disc 1, and then like 37, you go, oh, anytime now.
Installing takes 3 hours.
18 more discs to
15
go, and then I'm
floppies.
playing this bitch.
In 1981, a 5 and a quarter inch floppy, 160 kilobytes.
Yep.
I was right. It was in the kilobyte. I was thinking 15, but
Amazing. There was originally an 8 inch too. 8 inch, 5 and a quarter, and 3 and a
fucking
half.
notebook paper.
That's amazing.
It's true. 8.5 inches wide. It'd be about the size of a piece of notebook
Yeah.
paper.
8.5 by 13.
8.5 by 11. Yeah, it's
Or 11, yeah.
yeah,
11.
it's,
Legal.
anyways,
Wow.
I thought that was pretty cool. 3,100.
isn't it
bucks.
amazing how far technology's come?
Yeah.
Yeah, just not
This
like that.
this
All
could-
the cool.
This is like 190,000 floppies. So
I still think all the really cool stuff is gonna show up the day after I die.
that's the way it always works.
Like all the really cool
There's
stuff.
some pretty freaking cool things, all right. So we've talked about BioWare's new game called Anthem. I think a lot of us will probably end up getting it, I guess. And they showed it at E3. Aaron Flynn, the general manager of BioWare Edmonton, has described the game as, quote, science fantasy. And he said, you'll see a lot of amazing things happening, but don't worry too much about why they're happening. So they sort of explained that the game's sort of going to be like Star Wars or the Marvel Universe, where these things exist, but you don't really know specifically about them. You just know that they exist.
I don't know if that's an excuse for lack of writing.
That's
Sounds
what I
like
was
a cop
wondering.
out.
Yeah,
They said that that's more the Mass Effect side of their games, where you get more into the nitty gritty. This game is more big picture, is sort of how I read the interview.
that doesn't mean anything. I'm sorry, that's a cop out. Yeah, so you're right. You
Yeah,
got
it
the
sounds
right
like
part.
they
That's
just
a
didn't
cop
have
out.
enough people to.
And they said something along, I can't remember but they said more along the lines of, we want to give you the freedom to explore, and like you
Do you
can't
think they started calling things like that big thingy at the tree because they didn't have a name for it yet?
I'm thinking
You know, when you
of,
get to that one tree, that big thing is there.
the original Crisis, where you'd walk around and just random stuff would happen because they didn't bug fix anything before they released it. There's a tank in the tree. Don't worry about why it's there.
It's
just
supposed
there.
to be there. Don't
Working
ask
as
questions.
intended. Working as intended. It's camouflage. Nobody expects to see a tank in a tree.
It's a sniper tank.
We're just gonna nickname it the Spanish Inquisition.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. It's that to me, it's a cop out. I mean, now maybe
What if,
they're-
well,
I
what
don't
if,
know.
what if later on they intend to fill in those blanks with like add-on side missions and shit? So you know those things exist, and then all of a
doesn't sound
sudden
like
there's
I
a
want to.
reason for them to exist.
yeah.
I don't
but
know
see,
that it would be classified as a sci-fi fantasy then.
Well, I'm just trying why they're
Science-
trying to figure out
science
why they would
fantasy.
want to do it that way.
Yeah, a science. I don't think it would be classified as a science fantasy at
Then
that
you're getting
point.
into science
Do
fiction.
they really believe they can tell people that they just want it to be that way, and people are gonna go, oh, that sounds
I mean,
normal.
when you think about it, that's sort of what Left 4 Dead is like. You know they're zombies, but you don't know where they came from, how they are formed,
there's a
why they
difference.
exist. You
There's
know, all
a
that kind of
difference
thing.
in that.
But that's not a
aspect, though.
science fantasy. That's a shooter game.
Yeah, there's a
That'd
difference.
be
So
like
is this,
saying
really.
that'd be
Hold
like
on.
saying we know there's a Death Star, but we don't know why we're traveling down that fucking towards that little tube to shoot a.
Well, it's
Should've-
there's a difference with the zombie game because everybody knows the general. Most zombie movies never explained where the zombies came from. Resident Evil kind of really was like jumped into that aspect of like T-virus.
Yeah. They really.
But like all the classic zombie movies never really go into a lot of detail. Just zombies.
Something happened in a lab.
Well, but I'm saying even like the original, like Night of the Living Dead, they never even call them a zombie, and they never explain why they happen.
Yeah, they just were there all of a sudden.
Yeah, so it's like, that's a different aspect. That's something along the lines of everybody knows what zombies are, Living Dead kind of thing, and it kind of lets you fill in your own kind of backstory, whatever you want to do. But if you're creating like a fantasy universe that's especially sci-fi in nature, you're kind of basic. I understand maybe not having like a really detailed aspect of like going at the, they're just like maybe like Mass Effect style where it's like you land on a planet and you're not familiar with what everything is. You know what I mean? That but there's got to be some type of like background, because otherwise you're just it's.
Yeah, you want to know why you're doing the things you're doing.
Yeah, I would imagine there's some background, but they're not getting into the nitty-gritty about whatever exists in this universe.
I mean, there's no reason to question certain things.
Well, it's like they are the way by putting that particular quote out there, it sounds like it's either going to be something along the lines of like Myst or some of the other puzzle games where you're trying to figure out what's going on and where you're going to, where it
that's kind of, not what he says though. He kind of makes it sound
as a science fantasy. It doesn't sound like that. It sounds like it's a cop-out.
It's hard to tell.
We'll have to see.
Guess we're gonna find out.
We'll have to see what it is, but it does sound a little bit. Like I said, I can understand the aspect of it's like you're landing on a planet and you're not familiar with anything, because then it's like you got to create the thing, and I'm sure the community will have a lot of input in like what that big thing over there that's trying to kill me is going to be called. That would be something that the community could come up with their own names, and then we could have Bodhi
the big thing at the fucking tree.
It's one of those things where that could be fine, but it's like if you're just throwing him into a fucking world and it's like there's no backstory, no idea why you're doing it, what the motivation of the characters are. Well,
like you got to admit, almost every zombie movie in the past 25, 30 years, it's either been something in nature that's caused it to happen, or something in a lab that man did to cause.
Yeah, but but zombies is, like I said, you have a history for that. You know what you're dealing with.
I don't think they need to tell that anymore. We just know it's either lab based or evolution based.
I mean, whatever the situation may be, it's and Left 4 Dead did a very good job, like going into it, like the aspect of it even plays on the aspect they don't really know what's going on. Mm-hmm. And that adds to like the sign of the survival aspect of it. It happened all of a sudden, and you're
it was
trying
just
to
thrust
survive.
On them.
If you remember at the end of the one mission, I think it was the original. It was Left 4 Dead 2, where you got to cross the bridge, and that was one of the best.
And then
ones.
You're up on the elevator.
Well, you start in the conning the tower of the fucking thing. And you go to the top and you get across the bridge, and it's like the whole thing is like the army's on the other side, and they're like, "Holy shit, people are alive. Are you infected? Are you covered? Are you have you gotten contact? Are you infected?"
There's people over there that aren't infected.
Yeah, and the military, the whole conversation is the guy wants to make sure that you've been in contact and infected, and it's like, so it's some kind of disease, but you don't, like I said, it did well in that aspect. But see, it's good in the aspect also that you're a survivor. You don't know what's going on. You just know zombies are there and you're trying to survive. So, like I said, if you got a sci-fi game, you got to have some kind of basis for it. And if you're not really going to fill in that detail, it's going to be kind of questionable. So,
I'll wait and see.
I'm excited for the game nonetheless. I think it looks cool based on what they showed at E3, but yeah, I like the details a lot of the time, so that's a little bit disappointing. Moving on.
Yeah, but like the Sand People in Star Wars, you never really knew what the Sand People's gig was.
Yeah, exactly.
You just knew they were outliers.
You just knew they existed, and they were shitty.
Yeah, maybe that's how it's going to be.
They were pissed at something. Yeah.
It wasn't until we found out more of what the Jabbas were into in the shit ones. The Phantom Menace. That's when we found out more about kind of what the Jabbas are into, and with the racing.
Let's not talk about the prequels.
Yeah, the prequels sort of fucked up that whole thing.
I'm just
the midichlorians and all that. Prior to that, we didn't know what caused the Force, and so that's
we didn't
that's
need
sort
to
of
though, did we?
There's some things that are fine with leaving them open and for imagination.
See, so I think that maybe that's what his point was. There's some things that you're gonna just accept are things. And it's kind of like Star Wars or one of those things where these things, but you just don't need to know everything about it. You just know it. Yeah.
Yet again, it depends on how the writing is.
It depends on what details they're talking about.
Yeah.
What things are happening.
It's still early. We still don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe they'll fix the bugs and you won't think about that anymore.
Let me give an example.
You'll forget all about it.
Let me give an example here and I haven't played it in a few weeks now because I've kind of been like burned out on it. But like Warframe did a very good job with the game because the storyline progressed as you played through. And once you actually played the actual storyline missions and you actually got to the point where he started telling you about the world you're inhabiting in, you really didn't have a good idea. You had an inkling, but you really didn't have detail. And then when they finally got to the point where it was detailed information, it became even 10 times cooler because you started to get the feel of what was going on and what was going on with the world and the characters and everything like that. And that became really, really more interesting as the storyline progressed. So I can understand, not giving a lot of information is one thing, but at some point you have to have the hook that makes you want to come back and continue playing. And I think a lot of times with games like this, the storyline is going to really drive it. You know what I mean? And it depends on how the game's going to play. It's really early off. We haven't seen much on it. Definitely third person of the shooter. It's going to be like Diablo-esque because that, grind kind of aspect. But if they don't really go, it looks like it because they had the whole aspect with like the loot, where she gets the fucking loot and she's like, "Oh, it's the gun I wanted."
Oh yeah,
and stuff like that. So it's without a doubt, it's going to be a grind. When I say Diablo-esque grinder, I mean Diablo-esque, and I kill stuff, I get gear.
Yeah.
And then I upgrade my gear by killing stuff. So it's kind of a random number generator on drops and shit like that. So
I think maybe the problem is that they realized that all those stupid lines that they put in there. What is it called when you're playing and all of a sudden your characters will start talking about something totally fucking stupid and not necessary.
I said, it all depends on how the game is presented. Sometimes, like, the dialogue with the characters can be funny.
That's what I think it is. The problem is the dialogue between the characters doesn't really do anything.
But then I'll go back and go Borderlands 2. Half the game you're hearing dialogue between the characters and Jack. You know what I mean? And that made that game 100 times more enjoyable than the first Borderlands. Because of the what was going on in the storyline. You were playing through, you had a reason to play through.
I know, but he's making the point to say that a lot of that isn't going to be there.
Well, if that's not there, then it just turns into a mindless fucking
chatter.
troll.
Yeah, chatter. It's just chatter. Yeah.
So, like I said, the storyline is what's going to drive people to continue playing. And Endgame, if you beat it, then what's the point of it? And then there's some games you don't need to worry about it. Yet again, Diablo-esque games, it's about loot grinding.
Yeah.
So it's about building the best character and doing all that stuff and that kind of thing. But it's like half of that is that even Diablo's got a storyline in it, and you got to usually play through the storyline to get to the aspect of the more, just grind-esque stuff.
Yeah.
But it's still, there's, like I said, if you're going to make a game like that and you're going to try to make a franchise out of it, and I think EA came out and said they're going to be supporting it for 10 years, they said. Or something like them lines.
They hope
so. If you're doing that, you better make that game robust as fuck.
Yeah.
Because
it's a serious platform to put up.
If there is absolutely no story or absolutely no, you got a world build at some point. You really have to build the world.
Well, but if they're going to do that and they're going to add more stuff later in, you need to know how those pieces are going to fit in. And if they don't give you enough in the first base game,
then you have to go with.
Yeah, it's just going to seem like extra shit.
We'll use another. I think it's Bioware. Let's like the Mass Effect aspect. That's one of the reasons why you had the community going fucking nuts at Mass Effect 3's ending. Because they were so involved in the world that they did not like the way the game came to a conclusion. So it's like that's something that drives people to continue playing the game. If you don't have that world, if you don't have the world building, if you don't have the emotional investment in the game, then it doesn't matter how good the fucking game is, it's going to end up having nothing.
Right, so I think Saul's right. I think they just don't have much to it.
Like I said, it's a cop-out.
It's hard to tell. I mean, it's also not like some shitty developer. It's BioWare, who obviously have issues. Every developer does, but
it's a major title.
They've also
so
made
they'd have a story of some
serious writers on this already, working on this.
And not to mention, they also have some of the writers from the original KOTOR, don't they?
I forget who's on it, but I remember it may be the original KOTOR games.
So I mean, that to me, that's the thing is that show, and like I said, the KOTOR games, fantastic storylines. So I mean, it'd be interesting to see how they do it. But if they're talking, and like I said, maybe we're overthinking this really, really too much.
It could be, yeah.
Absolutely. But it's one of those things where I would hope they. Like I said, I'm hoping that if they're talking about that, they're just not going to fill in a lot of.
Can you imagine if we had high expectations? Can you imagine? Wow!
Come on, it's AAA gaming. A lot of this shit is they know it's going to be locked behind a paywall. So
I don't know. I don't know.
That drives me nuts.
I
Just
did.
give me a
By the
good
way, I
game.
did see just today that Battlefront 2 is going to have loot boxes in it, which makes me incredibly nervous for that
Wow.
game.
Well, we know where that's going to go.
Yeah.
the question is it going to be loot boxes for actual in-game loot, like weapons, gear, or is it loot
Is it pay
boxes
to win?
for
Yeah.
aesthetics?
Yeah, I don't know. They didn't come out with any.
I think everybody right now is jumping on the loot box bandwagon for what Overwatch and Blizzard has basically turned into, with like even Heroes of the Storm, where it's going to be in-game. If it's in-game aesthetics, then it doesn't matter to me.
Yeah.
But if it's actual, like, this is how you unlock the highest level blaster to fuck everybody up, then there's an issue with that.
I think it's
So-
aesthetics, from what I've heard.
If it's aesthetics, then I ain't got no
correctly.
fucking problem, man. Who gives a shit?
Yeah.
As long as they do it like Blizzard, where you can earn boxes very,
Yeah,
very easily. Yeah.
League
fuck
of
it.
Legends has loot boxes now, and you can earn them in game as you go. Yeah.
Yeah.
Moving on.
All right, what
the
else you
game
got?
game
No
director.
fucking loot box keys. No loot box keys. No.
The game director for Assassin's Creed Origins, which is the first Assassin's Creed game after a long hiatus. I'm not an Assassin's Creed player myself, so this means nothing to me. But they said the team has been working on creating significant, extensive, and high-quality optional side content into the game, which is one of the biggest gripes apparently people have had over the past few iterations of the game, where there's it's very lacking in sort of side quests and additional content to do other than the main storyline.
Didn't somebody say that some of the side quests can actually alter how the game ends too?
I don't know. I didn't see that.
I think that's way too
I haven't
complicated for
played far
Ubisoft.
enough into them.
That's
Well,
way
this would
too
be the new
complicated
one.
for
I think
Ubisoft.
this is for the new one.
Yeah, that's way too complicated for Ubisoft. No, they're not going to do that.
Ubisoft, who is fighting off a takeover from Vivendi Games. The family who started Ubisoft, I think, just did something recently to raise the stock prices to hopefully stop Vivendi from buying up enough to take over.
It couldn't be a bad thing. I mean, let's face it, Ubisoft has some very
I think
questionable
Vivendi
business
taking over
practices.
is a bad thing.
Wow.
I mean, it's not like they've made bad games recently, other than maybe The Division, which was sort of a letdown. Everything else has been okay.
Why
Ghost
doesn't
Recon
Ocean
was pretty fun.
shallow as a pool, right? Or shallow as a puddle?
Shallow as a puddle. Yeah.
Or why does an ocean shadow as a puddle?
Yeah. What about South Park? They got South Park coming out soon.
Yeah, but South Park also is not. It's one of the THQ games, so
It's still Ubisoft.
Yeah, but we'll have to see how the next one does. And the thing is, like I said, remember, Ubisoft is a publishing company; they're not a developer. So they might have some developing, but they do publish games. So there's private developers working on the game, so that could be a different story, or a studio working on the game, and Ubisoft publishes. So, but yeah, I can't see their storylines being that involved. I really, really can't. And if all the Assassin's Creed side stories are usually the same exact, or side missions are the same exact thing.
Well, apparently that's what they're
go
working
here,
on.
stab this guy, does nothing to the storyline. It's just
Apparently that's what they're
experience.
working on, is fixing that where it's going to be more diverse and more extensive and stuff like that. Well, yeah, I'm not an Assassin's Creed player, so it doesn't really make a difference to me, but that's what they
See, this is
claim
why
that
we
they're
got to go to
doing.
E3.
Yeah.
Well,
I'm
the
going
thing with,
all
like,
out to LA or
the key-
Vegas. or
I'm the
wherever
only
it is.
person that could get to there. So
No, you're not.
Is it Vegas
Well-
or is it LA?
you gonna come out to LA?
LA.
I've been to LA.
Yeah, that's to say,
No, I mean, but are you gonna come out for E3?
I couldn't afford it at this point in time, probably.
Right.
No, but the thing with that is I mean, if even like let's take Ghost Recon, if you were to play through just the story missions, the game is extremely shallow. There's not a lot to
Wildlands you're
it.
talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, no, it's a short game.
If you add in all the side content, it adds a lot of depth to the game. But realistically, in the long run, the side content really does nothing for you. And it might give you extra mission or extra weapons, extra add-ons for your weapons and
So
stuff
you
like
have
that.
to go get the weapons in those extra missions.
Yeah, you have to.
That was the
but
thing. You have to.
don't need to. You could generally play through the entire game with the stock weapons and not have any need for
Yeah, I guess,
upgrades.
but you're
You know,
giving yourself.
Yeah, you're gipping yourself to a point, but it's at the end of the day, the game it was a realistic bullet mon game to a point. Headshots kill.
You were gonna have a
So-
sniper rifle. You just weren't gonna have the Barrett.
Yeah, and and like I said, it really didn't. It added depth to the game, but it really didn't change the game all that much. You know what I mean? And it's like it added more time to traveling around and not doing shit. But even the side missions and unlock your rebels, which at some point you don't even get to use the rebels anymore, especially progressing through the storyline.
Yeah.
Because eventually they turn into it. So there's really not a lot to the game that really added.
End.
Yeah. So, but I mean, it wasn't needed. You didn't need it to complete the game. It was just
I never
extra
did
content
any rebel missions. I never used the rebels once.
I did. Yeah. I loved using the rebels.
I think if you play by yourself, maybe you needed to use the rebels more often.
Yeah.
But
well, you have to do it.
Play that game a lot by
myself. Did not need the rebels.
So I mean, it's definitely one of those things where it, like I said, it's padding. It does not add anything to the game other than.
But they said that's what they're changing, and I've heard people that play have said that.
I don't believe it when I see it.
Okay, well, that's why it's news. That's why it's news.
I mean, it hasn't. The reason I say that, and I'm being extremely cynical on it, is that it isn't something that's been in many games. Even the more robust, like RPG-esque ones, even like BioWare games, Mass Effect and shit like that. It generally didn't. The side missions give you maybe a little bit more intro to the story, but they never affected the end game story. And the reason
I'm just gonna say EA is giving all its DLCs for Battlefront 2 for free, so stranger things have happened.
Oh, I said it
like they're making up for it with loot boxes.
I said it like 2 months.
That's true.
I said it 2 or 3 months ago. I said I think EA is going to be is going to shock everybody and start going over to a more friendly, consumer friendly market.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me. They looked really good at E3 this year.
But
surprisingly looked good.
The problem with the main issue with a game like that and having that type of system is it can completely break a storyline. And what I mean by breaking a storyline is, and I know Bone can fucking back me on this one, is like Morrowind. You could play that game and do anything you fucking wanted to in the game.
If you kill somebody that you're not supposed to.
But if you killed somebody you were not supposed to, the game would literally go, sorry, you fucked up.
You
either can reload, you can continue the game, and eventually you're going to basically hit a wall where you can't continue any further because you fucked up, or you have to reload your last save and not do what you just did.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And the problem is that if you really start getting into storylines like that, where it's a secondary mission that can affect the way a game flows, it requires a fuck ton more programming for that main storyline, because you got to figure out if the person doesn't do the side mission in Act 2, and that's going to have effect in Act 3 and Act 4 and Act 5, then you have to basically write that storyline to change everything, and it gets way too difficult.
It turns into a choose-your-own-adventure type of thing.
And the thing is, that is fucking awesome, but it's also infinitely more complex.
But what if it's not like changing the storyline in a way where like the whole story shifts, but more like
a good ending versus a bad ending.
Well, or maybe a more difficult ending, like there's just more guards than there would have been, or the guards are better, or
in the end of the day, that's padding. It doesn't really add any.
But is it padding? You want more from a game? That's just saying I want more from my game, though, right?
It's a variable. What I'm saying is that it doesn't really have a dramatic effect on the way the game's going to function or how the game's going to end. And the thing is that Bone used the right term, complexity. It's the thing is that the more complex they make it, the more they can go fucking wrong, and the more likely things are not going to function.
Well, they're trying to find, according to them, they're trying to find a way to balance that.
I'd love to see them do more complexity in that aspect. I just don't think they're going to devote the money and the planning for it, because
I think you just had enough of Assassin's Creed, so you're just not going to get
No, dude. I would love to see them do it. I'd like to see these more narrative-based games actually have complex storylines.
Yeah, I don't plan to purchase and play it, but if it like gets other people to try that in their games and it makes a change in the future of gaming, I'm all for it.
It's like I'll go back to like Silent Hill 2. Or even the original Silent Hill. This original Silent Hill had 6 endings, and it was like you had a good ending, a good bad ending, and it was like a good neutral, bad good, and then you had like bad neutral, bad or some shit like that. And it was all about different things in the game. If you did things different, it would completely change the way the game would end or the way the ending would happen. And it's like that's you're going back to like 95, 96, 97. You know what I mean? And it's like since then they really have narrowed down.
Back when they would just put out a game and you would just play it and you'd be okay with it. Remember?
No, what I'm saying is that I'm talking about the complexity of story writing. And the thing is that it's like now it pretty much boils down to it's like you have like 3 endings. You have like a good ending, a bad ending, and like a neutral ending. And it's like they really don't affect anything in the long run, because the more choices you have a player input into the game, the more variables that can happen in the game, and they don't want to go into that whole variable aspect.
I think they just said they were trying to find out. I'm gonna give them a shot just to see.
Yeah, it just seems like they're trying to make it more interesting on the side.
That was a big complaint from the community. Yeah. If they fix that, then they're.
I think a lot of people.
I'll go on the
I don't play it, so
I'll go on the record here. My aspect on that will be side missions that will have targets that you'll kill. That if you do kill them, somebody else will replace them further down the storyline, doing the same exact thing the person you're killing would do. And if you don't kill them, that person will do the same exact thing because it's a set piece. What happens later is never going to change, but the actual character that inhabits that role may be affected.
All right,
and they'll go, it completely changes the game, and it's like it doesn't.
All right, we'll see. We'll come back and we'll revisit this after.
For a game nobody's gonna play.
Well, no, we're not gonna play, but other people play it.
No, yeah. So there's 2 videos that I wanted to, or it's really 4, but 2 groups of videos that I wanted to touch on real quick that are on YouTube that released this week. The first one is a NoClip documentary, who I've touted before. I really like his stuff. He has a 3-part documentary on Final Fantasy XIV. If you know anything about the development of Final Fantasy XIV, you'll know that they originally released it and it was a pile of shit, and they completely rewrote the game and re-released it again.
What are the other ones that NoClip's done?
What were the other ones? He did one on Doom, which was awesome.
Rocket League
he did, which was very cool. And those were about the development of those games. There's been a couple others, some short ones he's done. He did one about some weird puzzle game. But this one was really good. It's a 3-part. The first one is about the 1.0. Second one was about like retooling to re-release the game, and then the third one was like post-release of the game. And apparently the new expansion on Final Fantasy XIV is excellent. So if you've played Final Fantasy XIV, apparently it's worth picking this up because it's getting very good reviews and people are saying it's fun.
I know the last time I looked into it, I think Final Fantasy XIV actually has the same amount of active players as Warcraft does.
Yeah, it's number 2, I think, of subscribers at this point. So it's busy, and the new release, Heavensward, is that the name of it? I think
I'm not 100% sure, but
it just released. It just released. Apparently, it's very good.
And the game is fantastic. And I think a lot of reason why the game is fantastic is I think it's stuck a lot more to the old school MMOs, where you actually need to have active group people to really progress at some point.
You mean
not really progress.
Missing?
Yes.
Well, yes. Apparently they were talking about the new release, and they sort of go in. One of the developers of the game, the new developers who fixed the game, was going into his sort of his idea of what this should be, and he talked about not wanting to have a game where you need to log on every single day to grind like you would in Warcraft to get the best stuff. So he's sort of talking about like being able to go play other games or play with your friends for a little while, and then if you're busy, you can't do it for a week, then you're fine. So it sounds like more of a user friendly on that front. But it's a very good documentary. I recommend it. It was awesome. And the other video is the newest video from Oats Studio, who's Neil Blomkamp as director. They released their second short. The first one was released a couple weeks ago.
Yeah,
had Sigourney Weaver in it. This one was titled Firebase, and it's freaking weird.
It's freaking weird.
It's like 25 minutes long, maybe.
This guy is good though, man.
He's very good. No, he's done what is the movies he's done? He did
District
9,
Chappie, District 9,
Elysium.
Yeah, Elysium.
He's done a lot of sci-fi movies essentially.
And he was supposed to he released some concept art on Alien 5.
Yeah, he was supposed
to. Apparently he was contacted about doing some pre stuff on Alien 5, and then it got tanked.
Well, they took it and gave it back to what's his name.
Well, no, they literally took Alien 5 for Prometheus 2.
Yeah, well, Ridley Scott wanted to take it back because he heard, I don't know if it's because he heard Blomkamp was doing it, but he was
Ridley Scott's making it sound like it's not my fault this happened.
Yeah, well, yeah, it is.
That'd be like...
Yeah, Ridley Scott's like, the studio decided.
I was really excited for Neil Blomkamp.
The studio decided my fucking ass.
I was really excited
like Steven Spielberg going, well, I was going to let that nobody director do Jaws, but I decided,
I was going to let him do the new Jurassic Park
Spielberg,
movie.
I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
Hashtag not
Yeah,
an
it's
alien.
let's not talk about Chappie. You know that like freaky fucking South African rap group I show you guys now and then?
Yeah, no, they were. In
Yeah,
that movie.
they're the main
Yeah,
characters
I know.
in that movie.
I know.
Well, anyway, this one is really good. This it's 25 plus minutes long,
Yeah,
and it's about
freaking weird.
this. It is.
it's about the river god.
Yeah, it's about a river god. This Vietnamese guy whose family gets killed.
It's in Vietnam War time.
It's during the Vietnam War, and he has no real. He's not part of the
Yeah,
resistance
he's just
or
like-
anything.
He's just a dude.
His family kind of
Just a
got
dude
caught up and
playing
killed,
another dude.
and all his rage and his anger about his family being turned him into this thing, this river god. That's what
I don't wanna go into
the
too many
locals call him.
details. Yeah,
But he's literally Satan.
yeah,
is
more or
what
less.
they're.
Yeah, more or less.
There's like the
And
CIA
then there's
guy.
this other dude who is unkillable, who's gonna go after him, and that's where it ends. It's really good. It makes you like feel like, damn, I want to see the rest of this.
Yeah, they kind of there's kind of a couple of things like this. One soldier gets he's taken out of Vietnam where he's fighting when he sees the river god, and he's like transported back home to like
Some air base.
Yeah, back home in the States, and all
The
these
Russians
Russians, all these strange Russian like spaceship type, but they're Russian, come in and land, and he gets
They burn
he starts to
everybody.
get killed.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
start burning everybody. Then he gets transported back into reality, and he's burned in reality.
And
It's
he's
weird.
burned in
It's
reality
really
on the other
freaking
side.
weird.
Yeah.
It's really weird.
And they're talking to him, and his face is like all melted off. It's really graphic.
It's
There's a word at the
graphic.
start that says, "Look, this stuff is pretty freaky."
Yeah.
You know,
This stuff is pretty freaky.
it's pretty
worth
fucked up
checking out.
stuff. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
it's
really
worth
good
checking
though.
out.
In
Yeah.
25 minutes, a lot of stuff happens.
Yeah.
That's what I like about it.
Yeah.
So
And
what you're
it
saying in
really makes
25
you hungry for more.
So what
Yeah,
you're
it
saying
really
in
does.
25 minutes, you basically had virtually a lot of graphic, hard violence and shit like that, and weird, crazy shit.
There's a lot of story moving.
Storyline that basically wanted you to see more.
Yeah, it
Right?
ends. It ends. Clearly, there's going to be a second
That's the
part. We
whole
don't know
idea.
enough of the story.
Well, even the alien one that they did last.
It's called a
last time.
hook.
Yeah,
The
well,
Rocco.
it's just these ideas that he in the future he would like to make into something else,
or something that he
think
pitched
about
and
it.
didn't get
Yeah.
picked up.
But see, that's
Just
the
sort
thing.
of his like little
I'm
ideas.
gonna play this back to that game EA's releasing. You see what a storyline can do.
Yeah, no, yeah, absolutely.
All right, having even a little teeny tidbit of something like that can basically make you completely go crazy over something.
Yeah, well, it's
So-
building something. They don't tell you everything. They don't tell you why the Russian spaceships they look like spaceships.
Yeah, that's such a
Yeah.
small
Or who
section
the
of
soldier-
it. Yeah.
Who the soldier is that's chasing down this river god that's
He
actually
gets this like
Satan
suit of
or-
special armor that'll let him fight him, and the Satan guy like controls the space time continuum or something. Like
Yeah,
it's
well,
bizarre.
that sounds awesome, but I'm just saying that's what I was talking about with the aspect of how writing can do it. You don't need all kinds of information,
Yeah.
but you
Yep.
need to have some type of thing there to make it.
There's some
coalesce.
basic information to make you go, okay, let's see where this goes.
Yeah.
And then you get intrigued, and you're like, I want to see more of this. That's the thing that makes it. If they're going to do that with that game, that can mean something. But if they're not going to do that, then that's where it's lost. So, and that goes back to the actual.
It ends where this unknown soldier dude that we don't know where he come from or why he can't die or why he can sense this.
But he's
river.
there now, and it's
And he
like,
has-
yeah,
and
he has
he's
this-
getting into the helicopter to go find this
And he's
thing.
got his god
Yeah.
armor on.
Yep. So,
It was cool. I liked it.
like I said, that sounds fucking awesome.
And, they're
and
gonna
this
keep
guy,
releasing
his
more.
special effects are just unbelievably beautiful special effects. He's really, really good at what he does.
They spent a lot of money on this too because they had actual Hueys in the movie. Or
Yeah, it
quote,
was
movie.
pretty authentic.
Have
Yeah, they spent a lot.
they ever not been? Yeah.
The Russians are always the bad guys.
Russians
was
are the
Vietnam.
second favorite
I mean,
bad guys.
It was
to
Vietnam.
use.
We were fighting a proxy war at that point in time. Anyways.
Yes, we were against the Russian backed Vietnamese too.
Yeah. So yeah, it made sense that the Russians would suddenly attack us with
Yeah,
these
but
weird
we don't know
spaceship
why
airplanes.
their planes are like spaceships. They landed on
Yeah,
their
they were like
tails
way
upright.
advanced. Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, either way, it's one of those things where it's a teaser. That's all
Yeah,
it is. It's,
yeah,
it's
it
a
is.
teaser and a hook. And the thing is that the guy sounds like he's doing a relatively. It sounds like a brilliant marketing strategy, because the more people that see a trailer and get involved in it, and the more it gets actual feedback online, the more likely the studio is going to come up and go, "Hey, would you like to maybe?"
yeah. All these
do
people
Just
are
finish
like, why
that,
don't you
yeah.
get him to do it? I've
You
seen
know,
this shit.
and
It's
I
it's-
great.
think that's
it-
where District 9 came from. Something similar where he started.
District 9 was a great
He
movie. I
started
love that
like
movie.
he started working, and maybe it was the Halo project. He started working on a Halo movie. Like he just some very basic things, and he took some of the things from that and then made District 9 out of it, like some of the guns or whatever that he was fiddling
It
around
sounds
with.
interesting. Like I said, it sounds like a decent idea, and it sounds like a very creative individual, basically exploring ideas and seeing how he can flesh them out.
It's his own little studio.
Yeah, he could tell a good portion of story in just 25 minutes.
It'd be interesting to see if this catches on to a point. And I mean, there's a lot of creators on YouTube and stuff like that probably don't have the same kind of footprint or financial backing to really push it. But I mean, like I said, I still think that the original, like, going to another idea of that would be like the original Deadpool trailer that was quote unquote leaked.
Yeah.
I still don't think it was leaked. I think it was a test bed and to see how people would react to it.
Yeah.
And then when they saw the Fever and the Fever jump on top of it, they were like, yeah, we can make this and make money back. You know what I mean? So it's like, I think that maybe he's pushing shut the fuck up. I think it's an interesting way for creators to do that kind of stuff. And like I said, it's beneficial for him to do it that way, but it would be interesting to see if other people can.
Well, I don't know if he's like got a Patreon where he's doing it by episode.
I'm sure he's got some money from the movies he's made.
haven't paid any attention to that part of it, but they're really, really good. And they're interesting and they're bizarre and they're well put together. And I think it's cool.
Of them. I've liked both of them.
Yeah, Rocka was strange too.
It was really freaking weird.
It's just
Like I said, to me, it sounds like it's a hook. He's pitching ideas, and he's not doing it as an actual going to Hollywood and pitching an idea to a producer or to producers. He's just pitching ideas and creating stuff and showing what he can do.
Yeah, he's found a way to use. He's using YouTube.
He's utilizing YouTube as a platform. Yeah. And then, like I said, if enough people go, oh my, like you guys are completely geeking out over it right now. If enough people get, I'm not saying that in a bad way. I'm just saying if enough people start really going, I want to see more. Eventually, they're going to be running out with a handful of money and going, I want to see more, and that's going to get people in Hollywood really interested with it. And I from one aspect to another, I like that. Because I think Hollywood is really, 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 really afraid to try anything fucking new right now because they do not want to make an investment.
They haven't been in a long time.
Well, that's it. That's it. There's no new content, and I think it's a very good way for people to maybe push the buttons and see how they can push on that, and then maybe get some of these producers to go out there and take a risk, and drop, like a Deadpool. Like I said, throw a very, very, very small amount of money into a project. And then see how it can actually make them money in the long run.
Well, I like that this is a non-comic book.
Well, that's a good thing too.
Comic books.
Well, that's a good thing too. But I mean, trust me, there's tons and tons and tons of books out there that could really be made into a decent movie if they got a good writer.
Ready Player One.
Well,
it's happening soon.
Yeah, but I'm saying there's other books out there. You know what I mean? Not necessarily ones that have basically gotten kind of, there's other classic books out there that
Metro.
Really, really done
That'd be
well.
A cool movie.
That would be awesome if they could do it right. My God, that would be awesome if they could do it right.
That'd be creepy as shit.
You think about a Metro style movie where it's like an alien type, like the original Alien, where it's, the oppressive nature of that could be fucking amazing. I mean, it really, really could be good. But the question is would they hold true to the actual book? Or would they go with the more video game action pack?
Well, I think if they did it like the book, it would be a better movie because it's more like the original Alien.
Man, the book was long,
the oppressive nature,
scary, and
it's oppressive. The book is fantastic, but it's like the main character.
The book is dark as fuck.
Yeah, and it's just
by the end you're going, oh man, what if these people just die?
There was one thing. There was one thing I really liked that they did in the video game that I thought I really wanted them to push further with the book. And that was the guy he meets that basically is talking about the tunnels and how the tunnels have like a life of their own. And I thought they did really well in the video game with that character because he's like a shaman almost. And he's like explaining how the tunnels can eat people because of the negative energy that's
in different tunnels, if I remember right, didn't different tunnels have different kinds of energy?
Yeah. And it's the darkness.
The kind of things that had happened there, the different kinds of darkness.
It's been a while since I've read the book, but they talk like the one bit where the guy's like, he's like, stay close to me and it will be fine. And they're like in another tunnel, you can hear the guys that are there and you just basically, they die. It's like, you can hear them just basically disappear. And he's like, the spiritual element that was like kind of tied into it to a point, that unknown, like just thing, that was something that was really, really lightly touched on in the books. And it was like, I really wanted to know more about it. But the video games did a very good job. The video games kind of took it off the deep end a little bit.
Yeah.
But I thought it was really, really well done. Yeah, that would be awesome. But that's a great fucking. Yeah, I'd love to see that.
It would be. I think they could do a great job with that movie.
I think it'd be fantastic.
It makes me feel that alien.
Yeah, I'm definitely. Anytime this guy puts something out, I immediately go and check it out.
I've loved almost everything he's done. Yeah, because I haven't seen Chappie because I knew it.
No,
looked like
I
shit.
refuse to watch.
Even
Chappie.
Elysium, I know it got canned pretty badly, but I thought it was a cool idea.
Matt Damon.
I think the problem, and now this might be also like one of the issues. Like I said, I think the issue with Elysium was Elysium really jumped into like a kind of socio-political kind of,
and I think there was issues between him and the studio too.
Yeah,
I think
it's like
his full vision didn't happen. I don't think.
Yeah, I think I like the concept idea of Elysium, but it really just kind of pushed like that whole like it that really bothered me when they.
Elysium might have been before the Halo, after the Halo movie,
because it had
the Halo. I think some of the ideas got pulled over from that.
Yeah.
So I think that's.
And like I said, I like the concept of the movie was awesome, but it was just it kind of like really just it was like I don't.
It was a bit extreme. I think.
Yeah, District 9 was a great movie.
We have a magic bed that can heal everybody.
We're not going to send a single
one. We're not going to let anybody use it.
Not a single one.
Is there any negative consequence of it? No, none whatsoever. But we're not going to let anybody use it.
I've seen District 9 a couple times. I can still watch it. It's just really, really good.
No, it's an awesome movie. So that's all I got. If you're here live, stick around. We'll be watching trailers in a second. Other than that, if you're watching us on YouTube, please subscribe, and we'll be back in a few.